What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Over 1,000 people are dead in Myanmar and Thailand after a massive 7.7 earthquake struck on Friday. Rescue and recovery efforts are underway, with the death toll still expected to rise. Tiffany Wong has more.
Devastation in Myanmar after a magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck near Mandalay on Friday afternoon, toppling pagodas and sending people in the northern city of 1.5 million scrambling for cover. The massive quake and several strong aftershocks knocking down a building under construction in Thailand, 1,000 kilometers away, and sending people in the streets of southwestern China running. Myanmar's death toll already in the hundreds, expected to rise to the tens of thousands. The normally isolated country, run by a military junta since 2021, is calling for foreign aid. U.S. President Donald Trump confirming that the U.S. would be sending help, despite shutting down the country's global humanitarian aid office. Efforts the UN and China will also be joining. In Bangkok, attempts to rescue dozens of Thai and Burmese workers buried under the rubble of a high-rise under construction continue into the weekend. 3 people have been confirmed dead, but family and friends of those unaccounted for are still holding out hope their loved ones will emerge alive.
ฝันว่าจะเจอเหตุการณ์แบบนี้ทำใจยังไม่ได้เลยเนี่ยสั่นไปทั้งตัวเลยหลานสาวด้วยนะไม่รู้จะเจออะไรภาวนาขอให้ปลอดภัยเนาะเราก็นั่งลุ้นเราทำอะไรไม่ได้ก็ลุ้นอย่างเดียวเศร้าหนาเราကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာလုံသမားတွေလည်းပုံမှန်ကိုပြင်မြန်မာပြည်သားတွေလည်းမှာပါတယ်လေကျွန်တော်ဖွဲ့ရဆိုကျွန်တော်ဒီကောင်မှမဟုတ်ပေမဲ့လို့ကျွန်တော်နဲ့တူလုံးလုံးနဲ့ညီကိုကိုရောက်ပါတယ်မှာသူတို့လင်မယားတွေရော
And they'll need that hope as the full extent of the damage and loss of life of this earthquake reveals itself in the next days as the region tries to recover. Eason Pan and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Here in Taiwan, a review committee has decided not to raise electricity rates, which could mean large losses for the already troubled Taiwan Power Company. Cadence Caranta reports.
A freeze on electricity rates in Taiwan after a review committee decided not to raise prices over concerns about tariffs and geopolitical tensions. It's good news for households, but it could mean large losses for the already struggling Taiwan Power Company. To help it stay afloat, Taiwan's economy ministry is continuing calls for subsidies.
希望说台电公司在有健全的财务体制，若是能获得这个拨补，当然有助于台电公司的财务结构的这个健全。
Before the meeting, state-owned Taipower had hoped for higher rates, which they said were needed to save the troubled utility provider. It would have been the 5th raise in 3 years. Between 2022 and 2024, Taipower racked up deficits totaling $12.6 billion with no clear end in sight. Authorities blame a spike in fossil fuel prices stemming from the war in Ukraine. About 80% of Taiwan's electricity comes from burning fossil fuels, and nearly all that fuel is imported. Beyond the hit to consumers, Taiwan's industries need more power than ever, and quickly. Taiwan's main industry is semiconductors. Just one semiconductor plant, also called a fab, can use as much electricity as 50,000 homes. Taiwan's largest chipmaker, TSMC, alone uses about 10% of Taiwan's electricity, and some estimates say its power needs could nearly triple over the next 5 years. The latest move means the economy ministry is again asking the legislature for a $3 billion government subsidy, funding opposition parties cut in January.
另外拨补1000亿，过去3年已经拨了3次，丢了3000亿进去了，涨电价涨了5次，结果台电那个洞越补越大。
Now, one opposition Kuomintang lawmaker says they're discussing next steps, but there's still no clear consensus, saying they want to solve the root of the problem rather than finding temporary solutions. With prices frozen for now, how Taipower will move forward is in the hands of these and other lawmakers within a deeply divided legislature. Andy Xue, Chris Gorin, and Cadence Karanta for TaiwanPlus.
Some of Taiwan's top tech talent may have been stolen by Chinese companies. Authorities in Taiwan suspect Chinese chipmakers, including the major semiconductor company SMIC, used illegal shell companies to recruit Taiwan's tech talent. They say 50 workers may have been lured away for their knowledge of Taiwan's cutting-edge tech. Prosecutors say 11 Chinese companies are under investigation, and some of them operated in Taiwan under false identities, pretending to be Taiwanese or foreign firms. Key players in Taiwan's tech industry say their companies are in talks with the Trump administration about its upcoming tariffs. Executives from Taiwan's TSMC and MediaTek are at a forum hosted by the Hudson Institute think tank in Washington, D.C. The event focuses on keeping the semiconductor industry strong under US President Donald Trump, who plans to announce reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd, which could have a major impact on the industry. While some tech leaders are questioning whether these tariffs will help the US, TSMC Vice President Peter Cleveland says he's optimistic a win-win solution is possible. US Vice President J.D. Vance has criticized Denmark for failing to protect Greenland during a visit to US military base on the island.
Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is.
Vance accused Denmark of not doing enough to address incursions from China and Russia. He announced plans to invest more in the Danish territory, but stopped short of expanding the US's military presence there. His visit came just hours after Greenland formed a new government coalition aimed at maintaining ties with Denmark's central government. US President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he wants the resource-rich territory to come under US control. China has long pursued its business interests in Africa while staying neutral in its regional conflicts. But Rwanda-backed M23 rebels fighting pro-government forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo is changing that. For the first time, Beijing has joined international criticism, accusing Rwanda of fueling the violence in the mineral-rich region. So how is China balancing its ties with both the DRC and Rwanda? Adil Bra spoke with Christian Gerard Niemer, Africa editor for the China Global South Project at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, to find out.
Could you please briefly explain what is the conflict that's ongoing between Rwanda and DRC Congo, and what does that mean for the region?
We have a situation where Rwanda is backing a rebellion called the M23 in the eastern part of the DRC. It's been starting since 2022, and it's been ongoing up till now. What you have to understand in terms of context, the first time we had the rebellion, M23, it was in 2012, and it was defeated, and it was they were sent back to either Uganda and Rwanda. Part of them were sent back to Uganda and Rwanda. And now we have a resurgence since 2022, and since then they've been constantly backed by Rwanda into the eastern part of the DRC.
And now China has criticized Rwanda for backing M23 and attacking parts of DRC Congo. How do you read that comment? You know, it's very unusual for China to say what they did.
It's very much aligned with China's foreign policy when it comes to countries where China really prefer to stand on international law side, mentioning the fact, for example, countries' sovereignty must be respected no matter what. And we've seen that in the case of Russia-Ukraine war, where despite China being an ally to Russia, China called out the fact that Ukraine's sovereignty must be respected and security concern of Russia must be addressed as well. So in the same context that we see here, Rwanda doesn't have security concern per se. That's why you see China mentioning clearly that the sovereignty of the DRC must be respected and calling out Rwanda's support of the M23. So this is much more aligned with China's foreign policy, and they're really trying to maintain that role into defending the international law, international order in that sense.
What does this mean for China's investment in that part of Africa? Is China going to take other actions to, achieve their goal of resolving this conflict right now? And what does it mean for the investment in the region?
We saw that despite that and China calling out, Rwanda still have good testimony about China. And we've seen that in the interview that Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has given to a Twitter influencer a few weeks back, where he was really praising China's influence in Rwanda and also in the region. Overall, when you look into China's investment in the regions, particularly in the East, in the DRC, China doesn't have strong investment in the mining sector or in any kind of sector in the eastern part of the DRC. The core interest of China in the DRC happens in the southern part of the DRC, and of course, if we see the M23 rebellion expanding its footprint beyond the eastern part, going to the southern part of the DRC, yes, China will be worried about how it's going to impact investment in the DRC and in the region overall. So far, China remains cautious and also expressing the need that both countries and both parties and all the stakeholders need to sit on the table to resolve the situation. This is the approach that China is putting on the table, hoping that it won't expand beyond its sphere. It won't expand to get where its investment is present in the southern part of the DRC.
That was Christian Gerard Niemer from the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Taiwan's biggest fashion event has begun, with this season's latest looks taking on a big issue: sustainability. Our reporter Sandy Chi was at the opening night.
It's a big night for Taiwan's fashion enthusiasts. Taipei Fashion Week Autumn-Winter 2025 has officially kicked off, giving Taiwan's designers the opportunity to show what they've got. With 6 designers unveiling their latest creations, all united by a single mission: to go from zero back to zero.
最关键就是要表达台湾希望以时尚来分担这个世界公民的责任，就是说 endless 就是时尚无尽的意思，就是说我们希望时尚也是一个循环，时尚不会只有造成地球的负担，而是每一个在这个过程消费时尚的人也参与了分担地球的责任。
So-called fast fashion has taken over the global market in recent years, thanks to cheaper clothing production. But with this rise comes serious challenges affecting all countries. In Taiwan, more than 80,000 tons of old clothes are thrown away every year, and of that, about 34,000 tons end up in incinerators. If stacked up, that's nearly the height of Mount Everest.
其实我这淘汰率，我自己觉得我自己淘汰率是蛮高的。我也不知道下一次的淘汰是什么时候，可能就是2个礼拜、1个月，不一定。
And so the average wardrobe life of my clothes, I would say maybe like 3 to like 7 years. Yeah, I try to mix and match, right? And sometimes, and I think I'm very careful with what I add into my collection, so I don't throw them away easily.
And to change that, this season's designs are all made using recycled material.
这次包含也用到就是工业废布或甚至回收的服装去做成布料，所以它是从一个很有趣，就是已经是成品，然后又变成布料这样的过程。
But some designers say it's difficult to get the public on board with the idea of sustainable fashion.
现在就是回收的材料，其实它成本过高，所以在推行的时候可能还需要有一段的时间。如果说未来要做到量产的话，那以目前来讲的话，就是小批量的话可能问题不是很大，可是有些如果你要普及化的话，我觉得价格可能是一个问题点。
Other designers still have high hopes.
我觉得逐渐大家也从很久以前的定制的这个习惯，慢慢又从快时尚又转到现在，大家也开始逐渐对一件衣服有一个更多的价值的认知，跟希望用收藏方式去拥有服装。
Endless fashion is continuing in the capital, with more runway shows and fashion forums being held until March 30th. Hang Shu and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, today we take you to this new exhibition showcasing works by Taiwanese artists born before 1950. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.